There's no better way that we can understand this, and there's no better place on earth that connects all these three worlds than the temple. In this past conference, President Eyring shared his wonderful experience of the first time he went to the temple. And I think that it's amazing. I don't know how old he was. He's probably a teenager, and now I don't want to take a guess, but he's not a teenager anymore. And this experience has stayed with him this entire time. And he shared it multiple times, and every single time it filled the Spirit. And he talks about when he went into the temple, and he looks up at the white ceiling, and he has a strange feeling. Hey, I've been here before. Even though it was his first time there, he thought, I've been in this place. And then these exact words came into his mind. He says, no. You have not been here before. You are remembering a moment before you were born. You were in a sacred place like this. How special would that be? To go to the temple and remember what it was like to be with your Heavenly Father. I think that would stick with me too for many years. Every time I go to the temple, I'm in the celestial room, I often forget that I'm in this world. I really feel like I'm in a holier place. This world has so much chaos and confusion, but in the temple, I feel like I'm in the Lord's presence, and that's a very special feeling. Just like how we can feel what it was like to be in our past life, we can sometimes feel people that have passed on, our loved ones in the temple. An experience that my mom shared with me. She was with my Uncle Dennis, and they were performing ordinances for her Uncle Lloyd, who had not received the blessing of being sealed to his family in this life. And as they sealed him to his family, she had this distinct feeling that he was there. Not only was he there, but he was laughing and rejoicing that he was able to be sealed to his family for all time and eternity. And as they left the temple, she told my Uncle Dennis, I felt my Uncle Lloyd there. And he turned to her and said, yeah, I felt him laughing and rejoicing. I know that our family members are learning and growing and waiting for us to do the work for them. And when we do, they will be rejoicing. From this experience and many others, I've learned of the importance of temple work. Another experience, I asked my dad if he had any experiences in the temple, and he worked on the Redlands Temple as in construction. I thought he was going to share experiences of him building the temple, but he actually shared a much more spiritual experience before the Redlands Temple was built. They went to the LA Temple, and they had a scheduled appointment, but for some reason there was some confusion, and there was no one there to do the work, to help them. No temple workers there to help officiate the ordinances. And again, they were with my Uncle Dennis, and they were kind of distraught and a little saddened, but they said, don't worry, we'll come back in a couple months and we'll get these ordinances done. But the Lord had different plans. About an hour before this happened, a temple worker was driving home, and he had just beaten the LA traffic when he had the distinct feeling, go to the temple, you are needed there. And he drove all the way back to the temple. And as my parents were leaving, he came in and said, I'm here. Where am I needed? Those ordinances were so important to the Lord that even though this individual who had, I'll repeat it, just beat the LA traffic, came all the way back and knew that there was something he needed to do that day. Just like with President Ireton, this experience has stuck with my dad for many years. These experiences really define us. When we go to the temple, not only can we feel and understand what it was like to be in this past life with our Father, and also what it's like to be in the next life, learning and growing in the spirit world, but we can receive divine revelation for this life. What we do in this life is critical in the plan of salvation. I once had an investigator on my mission who was very adamant about she wanted to receive a distinct impression before getting baptized. And it's something similar to what Joseph Smith felt. And we told her, Joseph Smith, that experience that he had, it only happened one time, then he had other experiences, and we can just feel the Spirit and testify. And honestly, a lot of people, all they need is just a small glimpse of what it's like to feel the Spirit, and then they know that it's their time. That she wanted something more. And we shared all sorts of scriptures with her, and we had many spiritual experiences. And then it occurred to us, hey, why don't we just go to the temple? So we went to the temple with her. And we were walking outside, and we told her about the blessing of being sealed to her family and how wonderful that is. And just that hope of being with your family forever. And she said, oh, yeah, that's nice. Is she not going to get it? And so we went inside the temple, and we're trying to think. We were just in the waiting room. I was talking with my companion, and I was like, what are we going to do to get her to understand? And we looked over at her, and she was bawling her eyes out. And she said, I get it now. I want to be baptized. I have received divine inspiration about what to do with my life too. Growing up, I always wanted to go on a mission, but I thought it would be prudent to go to the temple and make sure it was the right thing to do. So I went to the temple and I said, should I go on a mission? And almost immediately I heard the words, you already know, stop asking me. Something along those lines. Somewhat of a harder decision, because this is a very much eternal one. It's whether we should get sealed, my wife and I. The typical return missionary story is we were dating for a couple months, we went to the temple and prayed we should get married. But both of us had said multiple times to various people that we would not get married right once we got home. We would wait a few years and date around, get to know a bunch of people, and then we met each other. Were it not for that distinct feeling that I had in the temple, I don't know where I'd be today. Probably not in Morro Bay. So I'm grateful for that. It's funny because I've heard the expression, families are forever, so many times growing up. But recently, my brother Matt got his wife Christine a little locket that had their family and her family, her parents. And on it it said, families are forever. Their family was sealed together not too long ago. It was a very spiritual experience. And her family did not have the opportunity in this lifetime to go to the temple. And so they were able to do the sealings for them. What wonderful experiences. But not everybody has this opportunity. I talked with my brother Mark, and I know it's cheating. I've talked to so many people to help me with my talk, and he served his mission in Africa, in Kenya. And he said that he would teach the plan of salvation and the concept of eternal families to many people. And he would talk about the blessings of going to the temple and being sealed for all time and eternity. The only issue is there was no temple nearby. And he says that the closest temple is probably in South Africa, which I don't know how many of you are very good with geography. It's kind of far. And it was hard for them to grasp that promise of being sealed forever, because it probably wasn't something they were able to do in their lifetime. Brothers and sisters, please take advantage of the wonderful blessing it is that we have temples. I know a lot of them are closed right now or only open for live sealings. But please, when they open, please take advantage of this opportunity. No matter what, always have your temple recommend ready. Temples are wonderful places where we can feel the Spirit. Every once in a while, I'd just like to take a moment and think about my eternal family. Even if you haven't been sealed yet, just take a moment and think about how wonderful it will be when you are sealed together. And you'll be able to see each other once again in Heavenly Father's presence. I know that these things are true. I have felt the Spirit testify of every aspect of the plan of salvation. I know it is only possible because of the atonement of Jesus Christ. Through him, all things are possible. I share this testimony with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.